I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in the Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it. I wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I
most respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage.
If this were a dictatorship, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. Just so long as I'm the dictator.
The last thing the men behind the curtain want is a conscious, informed public capable of critical thinking, which is why a continually fraudulent zeitgeist is output via religion, the mass media, and the educational system. They seek to keep you in a distracted, naive bubble, and they are doing a damn good job of it. In 2005, an arrangement between Canada, Mexico, and the United States was made. This arrangement, unannounced to the public, unregulated by Congress, merges the United States, Mexico, and Canada into one entity, erasing all borders. It's called the North American Union. You might want to ask yourself why you've never heard of this. In fact, there is only one mainstream reporter who's actually heard of and has had the courage to cover this issue.
The Bush administration's open borders policy and its decision to ignore the enforcement of this country's immigration laws is part of a broader agenda. President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it, and he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
That brings us to the subject of our poll tonight. The question is, do you believe the presidential candidates of both parties should be required to take a position on the North American Union and the NAFTA superhighway? Oh, God forbid. Yes or no? We'd love to hear from you on your thoughts. We'll bring the results here later in the broadcast. The debate will be at the University of Texas. Many Texans, however, are simply furious about an issue that the presidential candidates are just trying their darndest to ignore. It's the plan to build a massive superhighway, the Trans-Texas Corridor, the NAFTA superhighway, which will run from our border with Mexico across Texas, and that superhighway intended to go all the way up to Canada. Bill Tucker has the report.
It's known as the TTC, the Trans-Texas Corridor, I-69, or just the NAFTA superhighway.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's highly controversial. The proposed route from Laredo, Texas to Texarkana, Texas would be a 4,000-mile network of new toll roads with truck and car lanes, rail lines, pipeline, and utility zones. Its projected cost, $183 billion over 50 years. The purpose of the Trans-Texas Corridor would be to speed up the movement of goods from Mexico to proposed inland ports in America.
This is about international, global companies that are coming in and having their way with our politicians and making sure that this kind of an international corridor happens. Doesn't matter what it does to the people in the path. It doesn't matter what it does to our way of life.
And that's not going over well with thousands of people in the way of the massive project who've shown up at town hall meetings held by the state.
Citizens here are not going to bear the burden so Walmart can get their cargo into the U.S. cheaper and faster.
So far, none of the companies interested in financing the corridor are American. And among its opponents, presidential candidate and Texas Congressman Ron Paul.
We don't know exactly what the long-term plan on or what the motivation is. Is this part of the North American Union, or is this just to enhance travel in Texas? And I suspect it's a lot more, and it's very costly. It involves millions of acres that may be taken under eminent domain. And besides that, everybody I've run into in Texas, the people here don't want it.
The Texas Department of Transportation notes that 3/4 of the traffic coming out of Mexico to the U.S. comes through Texas. It argues that Texas has to find a way to accommodate the traffic and fund the corridor's construction.
Frankly, we're in a different day and age right now, and the way we built our roadways 50 years ago simply isn't keeping up with the congestion that we're seeing here in Texas now.
There is no voter approval needed for the project. So, like it or not, Texans could just have to live with the corridor, and the state is vowing to use eminent domain to lay claim to any landowners who oppose the project. And those opposed say they're not against new and better roads. They just would prefer to see the expansion and improvement of existing roadways rather than something on the size and scale of I-69 or TTC.
Well, you know that expression that Texans love, set up by their Department of Transportation, don't mess with Texas?
Yes.
They put it up in terms of protecting their roads and beautifying the highways. This is really messing with Texas. You can't tell me that Governor Rick Perry and the head of the Department of Transportation down there, that they're dumb enough to say that because all of this traffic's coming out of Mexico, that the Texas citizens should be funding the highway that is needed as a result of that traffic. Well, that's absolutely idiotic.
The folks at the Department of Transportation told me today, look, we can't, that's not my job, it's not our job to stop the trucks at the border. It's, you know, these trucks are coming in, we have to deal with them.
Whose job is it?
They would say that's above their pay grade, and it goes to Washington.
I'll tell you what, it isn't above their pay grade. There isn't a single American who has, you know, that's a cop-out. Every American gets a voice on these issues, and every Texan certainly should. And I got to say, if people are putting up with this nonsense from their state government and Governor Rick Perry and their Department of Transportation, these aren't the Texans that I know and who I respect mightily. I mean, to put up with this is just idiotic.
Well, they're not putting up with it. By some of the estimations that I got this afternoon, 10,000 people have shown up at these 46 town hall meetings, which wrap up this week. And they've been very vocal. There haven't been any supporters at these meetings. There have been a lot of opposition.
Well, this is another example of trying to ram this nonsense through. You know, this is not, they're trying to be so cute. All of these folks who want to put together this highway that would run in their dreams from Mexico to Canada. I cannot imagine why there isn't just complete outrage throughout the state of Texas at this, the very idea of it. You know, it makes no sense on any level.
Well, we'll get a look at some of that outrage because we're attending some of the meetings tonight, Lou, and we'll be back to talk about that tomorrow.
You got a deal. Bill Tucker, thank you. And what happened to don't mess with Texas? I'm worried, I tell you.
Included in that bill is a section which calls for the securing of Mexico's southern border by the United States and Canada. Lou, that's not the border with the United States. That's the border they share with Belize and Guatemala.
The idea that the White House would respond that this is on their website, this involves intricate workings amongst the Commerce Department of this country and Canada and Mexico's, of course, a regional prosperity and security program. This is absolute ignorance. And the fact that we reported this, we should point out, when it was signed. But as we watch this thing progress, these working groups are continuing, they're intensifying. What in the world are these people thinking about?
Well, they say, look, these are a declaration and an outline of our priorities. And when I called them today, Lou, they said I was the first phone call they had received literally since the deal was first signed. So people are not paying attention, and they're letting them, in fact, get away with this.
You know, I was asked the other day about whether or not I really thought the American people had the stomach to stand up and stop this nonsense, this direction from a group of elites in absolute contravention of our law, of our Constitution, every national value. And I hope, I pray that I'm right when I said yes. But this is beyond belief. Bill Tucker, thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir. Forgot your receipt.
Checkout lines. Who needs them? This is the future of e-business.
Have a nice day.